And welcome back to the ICC Hour here on Super Talk Mississippi, 101.9 FM. And as always, the ICC Hour is being presented to you by our friends over at Renaissance Bank. They are the bank that understands you, and you can find out why by visiting renaissancebank.com. Well, we just got finished talking with Coach David Strother about the women's soccer team. Now we're going to talk with Coach Vogel here about the men's team. And, Coach, before we get started, thank you for taking time out of your busy preseason to come talk to us.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having us.
All right, so preseason, you just wrapped up your first friendly of the season. See, I'm learning. Sully would be proud. But, just talk about the preseason and how that's going for you guys so far.
So it's been good. It's a nice little, I'd say, introduction to college soccer for the boys that are here for the first time. And then it's great to have the boys back on campus that we had with us last year. And it's nice, too, for 2 weeks to have the guys here where the sole focus is just on the soccer side of things. And so it's not throwing them in with soccer, academics, and everything that goes on. So it is nice that the boys get to spend a lot of time with each other and just really grow together as a unit. So it's been really, really nice.
So what's been your main focus throughout the preseason?
So every year it's the same story, I think. For us, it's half your team's gone, half your team's back. And so it's figuring out what exactly do we have. I mean, obviously we do our due diligence recruiting, making sure that we're recruiting the players that fit the style of play that we want to have. But once you get them here, you learn little nuances and things that they're their strengths. And our job as coaches is to find out what best suits the boys that we have here on campus, what system's going to fit for that, and where are they best suited to be on the field for us. So that's kind of what we did in the first week. It was really just principles of play, concepts, and so we just figured out what we had and started teaching from there. And then in week 2, started instilling more of systematic things, so how we want to play within our system and getting boys into the positions they'll see themselves majority of the matches.
So what's the breakdown on sophomores returning? How many you got coming back? Or you think of that off the top of your head?
Yeah, off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you. I want to say we have 13 that are returning.
Okay. So just about 50-50.
Yeah. It's a good split this year. Now we've got a transfer that's come in. He's got 1 year of eligibility left, so he'll be classified as a sophomore for us. So pushing the number just a little bit higher to 14, and then the rest of the boys coming in are freshmen from either across Mississippi, the Southeast, or internationally.
Okay, well, let's talk about your sophomores first, and we're not going to talk about anybody by name, but just more as a group. What is your expectations for these sophomores coming in?
Well, I think for them, just comparing it to last season, so obviously I was hired last summer, came in, got rocking and rolling, but didn't really know the boys, didn't have a chance to really help them understand what we were trying to achieve. And so just going back to last spring, that was crucial time for us, like being able to train and play. They know what we expect, and they've been very helpful in holding the standards of what we're trying to do here and helping lead the new boys that have come in as well. So that has made this year a bit smoother and just a bit more helpful having leaders in our sophomore class that have a great understanding of what we're trying to do here.
And one thing I talked about with Coach Strother is for this freshman group and for fans in general, I don't think they realize the jump they're about to make from high school to the community college level here, especially on this level, because, just like the women, the MACCC, they're always going to compete for a national championship. So, you've got some top-notch quality teams here from top to bottom. So these freshmen, man, they got to come in, and they got to come in ready, and they got to hit it hard.
Yeah, and it's different. That's what we kind of try to explain to them. It's like, look, you were the best player in your high school. You're in a group of players who were the best players in their high school, and you're going against other best players from those high schools. So it's a bit different, and we try to explain to the players as well. The term competition, typically you think of competitive soccer as my team competes against another, but when you get to this level, you're competing within your own group every day for a spot on the field. So that's quite the transition. And then the other thing, too, like you said, top to bottom. Like in high school soccer, Mississippi, you will have a gap sometimes between the top teams and bottom teams. So there's matches where the boys walk into, and they might not be as mentally prepared as they should be, knowing what's ahead of them. But from the teams that are at the top to the bottom of our conference, it doesn't matter who you're playing. I mean, you've got to be prepared, mentally prepared, ready to go every game, whether the team's sitting 12th or 13th in the table or 1st or 2nd.
Absolutely. We're talking with Coach Caryl Vogel here about the ICC men's soccer team. They'll be starting throwing them to the fire this weekend. You're hitting the road, heading up to St. Louis, take on some pretty tough competition up there. Of course, we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. But, Coach, what has been the biggest thing you've learned? I know you're a former player in this league. But after your first year, now heading to your second year, what's been the biggest thing that you've learned?
Just from a coaching standpoint, I guess it's a bit different when you're at this level versus like I was at a university before, and then prior to that I was at a high school. So now I'm kind of in the middle of the sandwich, and so like at this level, it's a lot of things that you're dealing with. You've got the recruiting aspect, you've got the retention aspect of keeping the players here, and then you've got the promotion aspect. So it's really all three phases. You work with the players in the high school level when they're with you, and then helping them get to what's next for them. At the two prior jobs I had, it was working on the first part to get them to college, and then at the university level, I was their last stop. So there was no thought of, okay, how can we help these players get on to their next college? It was more along the lines of, they're about to enter the workforce or whatever's next for them in life. So just trying to balance that has been not difficult, but just an eye-opening experience because there's something always going on, whether it's step 1, step 2, or step 3 in the process.
Absolutely. Now, you're in a good area for men's soccer. A lot of good high school programs. Talk about just you and Coach Lashley, kind of y'all's vision when it comes to recruiting to get the best here to ICC.
Yeah, and it might sound a bit, I don't know the term, I won't come up with the term, but like for us, we really want to get local players. And obviously within local, we're looking at, the 5-county area that's around us, but anything from Starkville north to DeSoto County. I mean, we want to be a representation of North Mississippi in general. We kind of view that as our recruiting base. We had a parent ask us the other day, actually, a really, really good question of like, why should my child come to school here versus maybe a school that's 15 minutes away from them? And really opened our eyes. And for us, we're just trying to sell who we are. And if that's a good fit for the players, then we want them here. And if they're a good fit for us, So recruiting wise, it's really all over North Mississippi, making sure that we get our eyes on the players that are close to us, but also those within an hour and a half radius as well.
Another interesting aspect that you and tennis kind of share is the fact that you do bring in international players. And that's always interesting to hear how the coaches go about finding those, making those connections, and they're recruiting them here to, say, from Australia to Fulton, Mississippi.
Yeah. It's a bit different for some of them when they get here. To be honest with you, some of the biggest change for a lot of our international players is the climate. It's really, really warm, humid here, and so it takes them a bit of time to acclimate to that. But as far as going out and finding these players, it's like for us this year, we've got 2 out-of-state players and 4 international players. But it's just like any high school player recruiting Mississippi. We open that line of communication, explain to them who we are, they explain to us who they are, and then we go about watching full match films. So that we're able to see them play a full 90-minute match, typically 2 to 3 of these games. And so it's not like we're just pulling a player sight unseen and they're coming here and we're trying to figure out who we have. It's just like if I was going down the road to Itawamba High School or to Pontotoc High School, we're watching these players play multiple matches and many, many, many Zoom calls, phone calls to make sure that they're the right fit for us.
Absolutely. And it's always my favorite time, like this time of year, you get to know the international kids and I don't want to call it culture shock, but the culture change, And you kind of talk to them and they're like, I remember, I forgot who I was talking to last year, but they're like, sweet tea is just unbearable. And I'm like, no, you don't say that around here. So it's very, very different there. Well, Coach, let's go ahead and talk about the upcoming season. You start this weekend on the road, 2 tough matches up in the St. Louis area. So let's talk about expectations at the start of the season. Not necessarily the entire season, but what do you want to see your team do and achieve before you hit conference play?
I think the biggest part for us is to use these games early on in the season to figure out who we are. We've got teams, like you said, we're going to St. Louis to play 2 top teams from that conference there. We've got Delta State coming to us the following week. So the biggest part for us is figuring out who we are against tough competition. And we've got some really good schools, East Central, Meridian, to follow up after those matches so that we have a clear picture of who we are, what we can do before we go into conference games. So treating those, every match is important no matter what. But it's just a good learning experience for us as coaches and the team in general to figure out what's going to set us up on the best pathway once we hit that stretch of conference play to help us get to the top of the table.
We're talking with Coach Vogel about the men's soccer team here at ICC. And, Coach, we got just a few more minutes left here. So what can fans expect out of your team this season when they come watch you here in Fulton?
I think for us, like we ask our players, like I said before, to be competitors. And so just relentless. And unfortunately for us in the rules that we have unlimited substitution. So we have a deep team. And so just a group of players who are willing to work hard for each other, have a great understanding of what we're trying to do as a team. And I'm not going to call it pretty football or pretty soccer, but it's hopefully to be a brand that's a bit more of us controlling the game, a bit more attack-minded and strong defensively, so that any match, any opponent that we play against, that we're able to impose ourselves upon them. And that's the goal. Obviously the boys ourselves, we don't want to have to be in a game where we aren't dictating, we aren't in control. So that's what we're trying to achieve through this preseason and these tough opponents that we've got lined up for us.
And you can see that full schedule on letsgoicc.com. If you can't make it to Fulton, you can watch home matches on letsgoicctv.com. Follow us on Twitter, ironically enough, Let's Go ICC. But you've got your own social media side. Tell everybody about. I think it's Let's Go ICC _ men's sock.
Yeah. So for Instagram, it would be Let's Go ICC _ MSOC for men's soccer, and then we share the Twitter account and Facebook accounts with the women's soccer program as well.
So there you go. So you can find that out there, or you can follow us on Let's Go ICC. We share a lot of y'all stuff as well. So, Coach, before I let you go, kind of let you reach out to the fans. Maybe there's a player out there that wants to find out more about your program, or a parent, a guardian. How can they go about getting in touch with you?
The best way for us is going to be either via email or the player questionnaire that's linked to the website. So if any players are interested in being a part of what we're doing here, we would love for them to reach out, open that line of communication if we haven't already, and then go from there.
All right, Coach. Well, I know it's going to be an exciting season. It's already here. Those 2 weeks of preseason, blink an eye, they were gone. So, and we're going to have good weather this season. I want to speak it into existence.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
And we've talked with Coach Caryl Vogel about the ICC men's soccer season. Again, visit letsgoicc.com to find out more about their season as it goes throughout. So we're going to take a break and be back more of the ICC Hour right after this.